What you're about to hear is an intimate search for humanity. In particular, it's a lot of me trying to understand the feminine part of humanity. This conversation took place at the very end of my almost decade run building Reddit into the business that we know today, at least playing my role in that. My very last day, I had taken a trip to London to speak at an event in Soho, and my last words as an employee of the company were, "My name is Will Cady. I'm from Reddit. We remember the human." And I walked off the stage and basically hopped on a train from London down to Paris, where I met this woman. And we spent the next few days just falling into each other in the potential of the question mark of whatever it is that comes next. And that is an astounding city to do that in. It is a museum, a living museum of humanity. And in particular, it has this profound feminine undercurrent. That love, that eros for humanity has this nurturing and just honestly sensuous perspective vibe to the human story. And it's captured in stone, it's captured in monuments all over the place. So between lavish meals, we were running, we were walking, we were skipping, we were dancing, we were riding bicycles all around the city. I have this one incredible memory of the two of us together navigating through the rain, hiding under one umbrella. We had walked down the Champs-Elysees towards this obelisk that we saw in the distance, and it led us to this Atlantean-looking fountain. And this woman, she stepped out from the umbrella. She started twirling in the rain, and as she was twirling, we saw down an avenue from that strange Atlantean-looking fountain this Greek temple building. We had no idea where we were. These are all very known, established things, but for us, it was an uncovering. And we walked towards that temple. It is the church for Mary Magdalene. And we walked up the steps to this to get out of the rain, which was increasing. And when we stepped inside, there was a string quartet that was performing Vivaldi's Four Seasons. So we sat in the pews, we listened to this incredible musicianship and just absorbed the power of the architecture and the way that those sounds resonated inside. And when it was done, we stepped outside, and stepping out of those front doors, we looked and there was a massive rainbow right in front of us. And it was a moment that felt like blessing. Synchronicity and blessing for being human, and it felt very Mary-esque for those that are familiar with that archetype, not just the Mother Mary, but the Magdalene Mary. And there's so many esoteric secrets and journeys to go into the meaning of those two, and they're all there for you when you walk the streets of Paris. After that, we settled in. I think we got a bottle of Margaux, and we had this conversation. And for me, this conversation was one of openness and discovery of the experience that I don't know of how it is to be a woman in this world. Give it a listen. Hope you enjoy. Which way is north? How would you like to be referred to in this conversation?
Madame.
Madame. Okay, Madame. Is there anything you want people to know about Madame before we begin?
I don't think so. I think that answering the questions, maybe there are things that will just come up that I can't really think of on the spot here.
Okay. Well, let's just drop into them. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Let's start with the first one. What is in front of you, Madame?
A long plane ride. Returning back to the United States after a lovely vacation. with my husband. The year of 34. Recently had a birthday.
Okay.
So kind of marking a new chapter of, yeah, the next slap around the sun upon that return. And summer, spring, summer.
Of all of those, which are the most charged for you? Which of those is capturing the most of your attention?
Probably just the marking of a new year. Like a new, yeah.
34.
34.
Okay. Hopes, fears. What are you feeling inside of the 34 story?
I think a little less like I have something to prove and more like outwardly and only things to prove to myself for myself.
Things to prove. Okay. So, do you feel hopeful about what it is that you have to prove, or do you feel fearful? Kind of unpack that on either side.
Yeah.
Start with the hope there. Like, what are the hopes? How do you hope to prove yourself to yourself?
I think like can I dream bigger than I have before and let the I guess the fear of the unknown or, fear of things unfolding or not, let that be more motivation and let that be more motivation than something that's fearful. I guess if it doesn't happen. Don't know if this makes sense.
Sure, we'll go into the fear side. What is the fear side of proving yourself to yourself?
That I'm not living up to my full potential.
So that's like the central theme here is
Yeah.
like, do you
Life's
think
potential.
that 34 is when you clock what your potential is, or is it about like expanding your potential? Like a little bit deeper into that, like where is your potential at now, and how do you feel like your potential changes in its expression in front of you?
Yeah, I guess it's like, how do I bring my signature into whatever it is I'm trying to do? And can I do that as authentically as possible?
Your signature. What is that?
Signature. It's just like the quality of like self brought into all things. So no two people are created equal. There's no two ways. There's no, yeah, two ways of doing the same thing. Or there are two ways of doing the same thing. There's multiple ways to do the same thing, but like what is the unique, I guess, quality self-love that I bring into everything?
So what are some specific things that somebody might see like, oh, that is the signature work of Madame?
Hopefully it's whatever it is. They're left feeling like beautiful in themselves
Because of their interaction with your
because their
work?
interaction, yeah, like they smile, there's like an intangible quality that they get, or it leaves them feeling physically, emotionally just lighter, better, and just more at peace with who they are and the world.
Do they know that this was the doing of Madame, or is it an unknown, unseen force, influence on their feelings?
I mean, I think it depends how people are when they receive, like what state they are at receiving.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be beautiful if there's like a super intuitive other out there that's like, I see, that's Madame. Like, wow. You're so
I think
special.
there are. I think
Yeah.
there's plenty of people out there like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the other side. What's behind you?
Behind. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I have done a lot of work on kind of extinguishing self-limiting beliefs. I mean, they still definitely exist, but I think I found a little bit more of a way to recognize the patterns and, found the the way to just like get back on the wagon, I guess, like when you start kind of derailing. So I think hopefully just feeling like self-limiting beliefs are the impossibility of something. They don't necessarily signify that.
So that's like the theme here.
Yeah.
This relationship with like potential and the limitations of your beliefs in yourself. Is that your experience through time, the expansion and contraction, or is it just expansion of your belief in yourself?
I mean, I do think that contraction is part of expansion, and it often happens at the same time.
Okay. All right, hold on. Tell me more about that idea.
Well, so I guess the best example that I have is, yoga. So I think that I can articulate this with like a physical example, but I think it showcases kind of energetically how this happens as well. So in every pose, there's something is elongating or stretching, and then something is contracting. So like if you're standing on your feet and doing a forward fold, whatever, you're stretching the spine, elongating, but you're at the same time contracting the abs and the core. And so by like contracting the core a little bit more, maybe you find more expansion and more length in the spine, and you find something deeper. And that doesn't happen without the work of like the counterpart. So I think relating that back to
Life.
Relating that back to life, like if, I've definitely gone through like hermit stages, but that's just in one regard, right? That's just like the you know, social outward fairiness. And that can, feel, while there's like a contraction maybe in that regard, there's an inner world that's like expanding.
Oh.
And so there's this like kind of like a lava lamp, like
Like a lava. You see a lava lamp here.
I don't know, but like it has that.
It's always moving.
Always moving.
It's always gooey.
Fluid. Yeah.
Fluid.
And it's like okay to be really tipped and teetered in one way, but like
Yeah.
it's like how do you find that balance with ease and flow? It's like sometimes really fun to be all out there and extra. Let's just call that.
So in the metaphysics
Expansion.
of Madame, there is no expansion without contraction, no contraction without expansion. But it doesn't sound like the sort of like zero-sum game proposition. It sounds like something that's a little bit more open rather than closed.
Yeah, and I think that's what lessons up to 34 have taught me.
That's what's behind you.
Yeah.
Is there any particular memory that comes up when you think about expansion or contraction? Or maybe, in the form of the questions here, the joys and the angers of our past that comes to the surface to kind of illustrate this lava lamp imagery?
On the spot.
Yeah. I love that the lava lamp came up. I think that's a cool totem, a cool symbol.
Like maybe I need to get
Did you have a lava lamp?
No, but I was very like as a kid I loved like limited to era stuff, dating myself, but there was a lot of like inflatable chairs for your room that had like a little patch on it that you could like move this like jelly with glitter like all around, and it was I think trying to nod to like the 60s.
Yeah, for sure.
Something like that.
Black lights like were kind of a thing.
Yeah.
In like the late 90s, early 2000s. Was that so? Are these like kind of the early memories of your identity project of like window shopping at Limited 2 for like these inflatable chairs and lava lamps to try to figure out like who you are in the world?
I mean, I think that, yeah, like these, like taste and, to be, I guess, so privileged as to be able to window shop as a kid and maybe desire things and, not always being able to get them, but like at least curating like a taste and like a preference for things, I think is.
But that's where it happened back then. It was
Yeah.
the mall. Like,
Yeah.
that was, I mean, it's something that
Absolutely.
we share, like, in terms of growing up in America. Like, the mall is where you window shopped for your identity as an
Yeah.
adolescent.
And it's also where you see like multiple generations of people coming together and just like out in the quote unquote wild. And you
Yeah.
see like, like as a 9, 10-year-old seeing the teenagers and like how they act and like what they wear
You
and
see
like
the next step.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like some modeling, I think that.
So, what do you make of talking about self-limiting beliefs and the brand here being limited to?
I never thought about that.
What do you think that means
Well,
for
I
you,
think,
or for the world, for all of it?
that it's like only if you're this particular fashionista do you get this fun lifestyle or like aesthetic. But yeah, I think that it's the junior brand of the limited.
Wait, what's the limited?
It's like a women's adult women's clothing store that's like very kind of think of like Express kind of.
So that's literally, so the two is like you're limited to, like you're also like the adults here, but this is like a space for you. These are things
Yeah.
for you. Oh, so it really is like targeted at people at precisely that moment where they're not ready for the limited,
Yeah.
but they have
But
the limited
limited's there.
too.
Yeah. And then the limited's there when you're ready, when you're of age.
Do you feel like you ever ascended to the limited?
I mean,
How do you know?
I
How do you know when it's your time to go from the limited to the limited?
man, well, definitely dabbled, I think, as like a 15-year-old or whatever, but like,
Oh, you like it's
yeah.
not an immediate. It's like
Yeah.
you test the waters that you
Test
like.
the
Yeah.
waters, acquire some of the pieces.
You can go back. You can revert back across the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that ultimately, when I was of limited age, my taste had changed, and yeah, I was really into like vintage earrings and stuff like that, or like secondhand earrings.
Were
that
earrings
like,
the first vintage
I had?
articles that you got? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like, there would be like a big like bag, kind of like a mystery bag that was like $1 or $2, and it was my sister and I would go and just like grab some and see what we got, and then try to make our outfits as cool as possible with these like unique finds.
And it started with earrings.
Start with earrings.
The journey into vintage,
Yeah.
which is now a whole
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oui.
Okay. Anything else for what's behind you?
Probably. There's probably a lot.
Okay. What do you rest upon, madame?
Rest upon a loving foundation with my husband. But I know that's that's not, I guess, family. Well, it is kind of family. It's the family of now.
Sure. It's your home.
Yeah, that's where I rest.
It's part of the soil of your life.
Yeah, that is where
It's where you rest, yeah.
I rest. Yeah, rest upon. Let's see. Midwestern roots.
Which we kind of touched on there. These
Yep.
mall experiences.
Yes. And yeah. Soil of my life. A Polish heritage, English and Polish heritage, outside of Metro Detroit.
Where's the pride and where's the shame in these things? Where's the energy of the stuff that you want to proclaim and share with the world? And let's start with that, and then we'll go to the other side.
I think that the Midwestern people, like, don't underestimate them, but like it does take a lot of, I guess, work, and then therefore, like, I respect when people genuinely like smile and like ask you how you are, because they have shit going on in their life, but that's real. Like, they really want to connect and care, and like that's tough as humans to do,
It's like
to
nice
like
is
meet
not
people. Yeah.
naive. Like,
Yes.
yeah, this underestimating thing. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like a lot of people underestimate Midwesterners
I think so.
because they're nice?
And like maybe simple, or like, seen it as that, or like creatures of comfort, which I would argue, like, yes, some of that is true for sure. But I think that, they are innovators too. Like, they're business people. They're, kind of holding down the less kind of maybe hourly glamorous parts of life.
And there's an honesty to that
Yeah.
in a way, right?
Yeah. Totally. Like, I think it takes a lot more work energetically to like decide to smile when, and like, when you might be having a bad day, rather than wear that and be like, oh, I just want to be grouchy and don't want anybody to talk to me and whatever, which I definitely personally do when I'm in a mood,
How much is
especially.
that smile for you, the Midwesterner, and how much of that smile is for the person you're smiling at?
Well, that's a good question. I think it depends on the person, but I think people like to pride themselves on like Midwestern, especially on like politeness and like being a good host. So I think they feel. I mean, this is a huge generalization, but like they maybe feel their best when they've done everything they could be to like turn up and be this like host and welcoming, and they showed up in that situation as they thought they ought to.
Why does it take so long for Midwesterners to say goodbye?
Well, I think the art of just like dinner table conversation, or like conversation in the garage
Yeah,
with
this
some
is like,
beers.
I'm talking about foyer conversation.
Yeah.
Like, the
Oh.
door is open, boots are on, coats are on,
Yeah,
and a whole other zone of conversation has begun. What is that?
I think it's just appreciating that, like, oh, maybe something will come up in this next round that makes us feel even more connected, or like we're making a really core memory. But also, like, I don't know, at least for me, like, I just get too excited
By people.
by people.
Yeah.
Yeah. By like, connecting, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Sweet. I
Yeah.
mean, it's interesting. So, like, the pride and the shame components here are really bound, like, with each other. It's
Yeah.
because talking about, when I asked you, like, about what you're most proud of as far as, like, this Midwestern element of what you rest upon, it was really about not being underestimated because of being so nice. Like, they're very tightly bound together. The thing that, so when I talk about shame in this direction, it's like, what is the thing that you want to reconcile out there in the world of, like, what you're made of, the community, the heritage, the home, all of that. And that seems to be it, is this notion of, again, don't underestimate us because we're nice.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Anything else in what you rest upon? You talked about your Polish heritage. Anything there?
Yeah, I think just had grandparents who are dirt, dirt, stinking poor. Yeah. Both children of the Depression on that side. Yeah, my grandmother definitely had a lot of traumas, but yeah, I think, yeah, I became kind of a hoarder in response to that, but ultimately did well considering all of the shit. But yeah, her father passed away on Christmas Day from double pneumonia, and she was 3.
It's quite intense.
Yes, and yeah, she had a brother, and some cousins, and maintained closeness with them because she was kind of a bossy pants. So she kind of was just like matriarch and just bossing everybody around. They just listened to Irene, sometimes pretending that they weren't going to, but ultimately they would cave. Yeah, like her first doll was from Salvation Army, and just super super poor.
So she's the ancestor that comes up first.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
It's like we're not supposed to say who our favorite children are. Are we allowed to say who our favorite ancestors are?
I think that I don't know. I don't know if that's fair, but I think that the memory would. I think it's fair to say like, what is the best memory you have of each of your ancestors?
Right. Right. That
Because that's ultimately what remains.
You draw from that, how she sort of lived through those challenges.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like it was probably really freaking grim, but like every time, and it was definitely overkill. My mother needed to have a chat or 2 or 20 with her, but every time as kids we would go over to visit, she would have a gift of some sort. And granted,
really?
Yes, but the gifts. So she really loved Big Lots. Really was a big fan of Big Lots and Kmart. Okay. And like, so sometimes these gifts would be like huge underwear, like a new pack of like huge underwear.
The pack or the underwear are huge?
Both. Like it would be like a 7-pack of just like giant underwear because it was on sale, and she like had this compulsion to buy it and like think of us and like want it. That's show
nice.
Up empty-handed. Yeah.
The principle there of always, if people are going to come over, always have a gift for them.
Yeah, she's like, I have something for you, and you're like, oh my God.
Would you say you are a gift giver in a similar fashion?
I try to be, I think, a little bit more tailored in the approach, but I really do enjoy giving gifts. And like, when you see something that like totally resonates with like the future receiver, like you're like, oh yeah, like cannot wait to like give this to them and like let them see, like just watch their reaction. My sister and I think we kind of share this as well. And throughout high school, when we would like do Christmas shopping for each other, we would get our presents for the other and then like go into the other's room and be like, I just got your present. I can't wait to give it to you. And be like, oh my gosh, I got your present recently too. You're gonna love it. Oh man, it would go great with like those shoes. Do you want to just give these to each other now?
Wait, so would you wait or would you give them right away?
Sometimes if we both agreed wholeheartedly, we were like, let's just exchange the gifts now because we couldn't wait.
Do you end up like getting other gifts for the day that you're supposed to give them?
We would give like, it wouldn't be the main gift, but it would be like something small.
Something, yeah.
Something small for like, if it's Christmas, like the stocking. Yeah. So.
I mean, we can play on that theme and move to this question.
Yeah.
What do you give?
Hopefully a smile and warmth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A smile and warmth. Yeah. To everyone, to every soul that needs it.
Do you think about that in every interaction?
Not, maybe on a subconscious level. I don't think it's like a conscious level, but like, I like to smile or like try to make a little something lighthearted if it's like an interaction, or like, if someone has an awesome jacket, just being like, that is amazing, like you look incredible, like, 'cause that costs me nothing, and that like I want to express that, and that person chose that, that might give them a little boost. I know that stuff like that makes me feel good as well.
Raising the net level of niceness in the world with little drops of sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I see you do that all the time.
I do also think that, nice doesn't always have to be like the delivery of like, happy
Oh,
things.
this is okay.
I think that it can wrap very important feedback that when it's communicated like delicately, and I think have a problem with directness sometimes, but like I think it's because I want to find like the softest, best, most caring way to deliver something to someone, whether that's like, you know, in personal life, in work. I do think that there's always a way to communicate anything, and you can do it in a way that doesn't make people feel like shit. They might be self-critical and like, but I think there's a respect that you also have to give people that they'll receive it in the manner, in the manner that they need to. And, if you're like, I'm always here, like if you want to talk about this more, when you're ready, like I know this can be a lot.
That's a big idea you just shared. That there's always a way to communicate anything. Say more about that. Because I think a lot of people out there maybe haven't thought about that or don't believe that. Maybe sometimes they say, better left unsaid. I can't reach that person. I can't say that thing. I shouldn't say that. I won't say that. So
I think if that's what people are labeling or saying about the thing, if that's coming up for them, I think that that's a prompt for self-reflection to say like, well, what am I really saying if I deliver it in this way that would mean that this person would hate me, or it's like, check thyself.
Look for the expansion in that contraction.
Yeah.
Because it invites an inner examination.
True.
Right?
Yes. Wow. Yes. I'm so glad I just came up with that.
You did. Okay, so so if you're feeling like, so Madame, in the metaphysics of Madame, is this idea of expansion necessitates contraction, and contraction necessitates expansion. Applying that to moments of principle number 2 of the metaphysics of Madame. There's always a way to communicate something.
Yeah.
So with that second principle, if you encounter the feeling that you can't communicate something, that is a contraction that invites you to look for the expansion.
Yes. Yeah. You just articulated what that was. What this is.
Principle 3, smile. There's a better way to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's, I've definitely, maybe I'm walking myself back a little bit here, but like honey, just smile, like, and everything's fine. It's like, don't smile if like you can't and you don't want to.
Okay.
Or like, I don't know, like a man on the street is like catcalling or something. They're like, oh, just smile. Like,
you should smile more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's it, but I think it's knowing thyself and
is it the niceness?
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, I think that it's a be kind to yourself, and then there's like an outward. There's like a glow.
I bet we can.
From that.
I bet we can find this in the next direction.
Okay.
What do you receive in this energy of niceness? You're talking about how people feel. Talk about things that make you feel.
I think when allowing yourself to recognize moments of awe, or like when something is more beautiful in life than you expected it to be. And sometimes that can come with like crying or something. Like that's often, that's actually like the prompt for crying is like, when we're sad, or, it's not because we're sad, it's because something moved us beyond what we could like comprehend like in our minds about the situation. So it's like this beautiful thing. Then like cortisol is like released in the tears, and then, all the oxytocin or whatever.
Do you like to cry?
Yes and no. I find that it's harder sometimes to like cry. But yeah, oh man, as a teenager,
All the time.
all the time.
Is crying an expansion or a contraction?
Maybe what it is actually both at the same time.
I'll take that. Moments of awe. Can moments of awe happen in the vestibule, in the foyer, at the front door, after dinner, during the goodbye conversation?
Moments of awe?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think so. I mean, yeah, like, I guess maybe it's like this prolonged goodbye is like a learned cultural thing. And I think, particularly with my dad's side of the family, like the more like English side, my most fond memories are like just chatting and like, being like the kid at the adults table who could like stand, could be seen as witty and like, make them laugh and
When you graduate from the limited two table.
yeah. Yes. Or you're like punching your way up.
Yeah.
And so I think that there were times that I perceived were those, like for me at that kind of younger age, those were moments of awe. Because I'm like, wow, like so and so, or like this uncle is really funny. And like, you just kind of absorb like what it is like to be an adult that's like funny and that, like that's how they choose to be
that
in the world.
Family famous energy.
Yeah, and like, you see mostly your parents, right? Those who were raised by or they're adults or whatever. Like you have people in your close proximity that you model and see, and like maybe you become extra critical of their behavior and like, but yeah, you kind of grasp and look and just learn from others.
So it sounds like you feel awe in these moments of beholding somebody for the full scope or a particular part of who they are. Seeing the character of people you love or just people.
Yes. And I think it's maybe subconsciously trying to end on like the highest, warmest note that the night possibly could have taken,
Yeah.
So that when people you kind of are left with this like buzzing, kind of like, oh, that was such a great night. Like, oh, that was lovely.
Yeah.
Can't wait to do that again.
I kind of feel it in the gesture of like the hug and then the pullback with two hands on the shoulders. The like, let me just look at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's an awe.
Yeah. It's like we had a nice time.
Is there an AWE and AWW?
Yeah, definitely. Depending who it is.
Okay, what shines upon you? What is the light in your life right now?
The light in my life. My dog. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what you said. What came up first?
Well, I mean, he's paving the way for, maybe like a family expansion of some sort. But yeah.
That's the season.
Yeah, I think it's just like, yeah, animals are, grounding, like the purest kind of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you see when you look at the stars?
What do I see? Well, sometimes satellites, sometimes shooting stars, sometimes little dots that are questionably a star or a satellite. And I think it, gives my weirdo heart comfort and awe maybe to think that maybe those are, little starships of other little beings.
It's in the not knowing.
Yeah.
And the mystery.
Yeah. But yeah, I see beauty.
If those are starships, what do you hope they represent? What do you hope is going on in those starships?
I hope that there's some sort of like fiber optic, like just like going to town, just like doing this important work for the universe, and trying to like send us little like love and light beams, and just recognizing that there's life here that can I guess receive and then maybe reflect back to them. And
So do you see, I asked you what you hope, so it's a bit of a leading question, but like, do you see benevolence in what might be up there in these starships in the beyond, intergalactic Midwesterners? Or is there something that you fear?
I mean, the unknown can make fear, can
Talk-
prompt fear, but I think that, I think ultimately benevolence, that's at least like what I hope for and what helps me see it as beautiful as I think about it. But I think that, I don't know, I mean, I think that whatever is meant to happen will happen, and so we can kind of surrender in a faith that like this might be a catalyst to the next step for humanity or not. And what we can do right now is smile, smile, just smile, be true to our hearts, and show up for our people, for our loved ones, and just try to like rock the shit out of life and cry and hold each other and be sloppy, be messy, but like prove yourself wrong.
Prove
Sometimes.
yourself wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean that in like a self-confidence kind of way.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
That kind of, I think, relates to this self-limiting belief idea. Because in order to expand, you have to prove yourself wrong.
Right. Yeah.
You have to challenge the belief.
Yeah. I mean, so growing up, I was a dancer and then rhythmic gymnast and went to the Junior Olympics. And
That's
so
a lot of time
very...
in the light, which is what this direction is
Yes.
about.
But I mean, I think that my inner critic was really formed during those years, and I spent a lot of time just like grappling with sports psychology and like visualizing, a successful routine or like catching that tosser. And it kind of wigged me out. And then there were moments of unlock where like, you feel in the flow, like you do everything, you execute. But then the thought that like, if you're off, then you're like that ball is bouncing off of your knee and it's rolling under the judge's table and you're going to have to run and go get it. And that's like 2-point deduction. Like, that's a lot to try to recover from, if at all. So, I mean, that was, I know that was kind of a bit of a tangent, but
No.
sports psychology is I think it led me to, finding like yoga and things like that, where you try to like the yoking, right, of like mind, body, spirit, and how they're all connected. Because that was a more like maybe medical, sports, tactical kind of approach, but the power of positive thinking, various books on sports psychology, and like law of attraction and stuff like that were all things that I kind of turned to at that point. Maybe didn't fully understand, but like I would try to seek comfort in those things.
Do you think that whatever in the stars is judging us?
I feel like they don't got the time.
Don't care.
Like, I feel like, oh, man. Like, it's just, don't care. And they're just like, wow. So, like, hurry the fuck up, or I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's they're impatient or, or entertained, or like maybe they're like, oh, that's so cute. I mean, I would imagine at some point they'll be just like,
or they're just watching the ball bounce off of humanity's knee as
we
scurry to the table to pick it back up.
Right? And they're like, you guys did this. You kind of thought that maybe the worst thing would happen, and lo and behold, here we are.
Or do you think there's only apathy cold apathy up there in the stars.
Well,
Or put another way, when you look up, do you see more light or more darkness?
probably. I don't know. I don't really know what I think about that.
That's probably the wisest answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So think back to all these different directions, and we're gonna get to what's in your heart. What's in front of you? I heard expansion of yourself. Behind you was a bit of this self-limiting belief idea. What you rest upon is this niceness. And then in all of that, there was this like expansion and contraction concept that was really freaking cool. And then you have in what you give the power of being nice to give energy to other people to, what was it, increase the net level of niceness in the universe. And then what you receive was a bit of crying to be made to feel something. And then what shines upon you, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There's the notions of, what you see in the stars. There's a notion of being judged, standing in the spotlight. There is the season of family. Anything that I missed? I know I missed some things. But how does all of this come together to give you a feeling in your heart? What is in your heart when you reflect on all these directions right now?
I see like kind of a big, just like spinning like orb around the heart that's like where all of that is kind of captured and pulled in and around, and it kind of like, yeah, has its own like aura. I think that's like trying to keep that like energized and balanced and good. And from that, like the trust and love and, self actualization kind of can exist. It kind of comes from all those things together.
Is that the balancing force between expansion and contraction? Spin?
Spinning? Maybe. Does a lava lamp, could one say that spins?
Yeah.
Like,
it turns.
turns? Yeah, perhaps. Because when you spin, you're all the directions.
Is that what made you a gymnast and a dancer and a yogi?
Pivoting and spinning, yeah. Probably.
Wow. Madame who turns.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else you want to add to the conversation?
Just that. I think that these conversations, and while I wouldn't say I'm like the most confident on the spot speaker and answerer of questions like this, there were definitely parts where I was nervous and like, ooh, like, oh, does it sound right or stupid or whatever. But like that's it, just working through and persisting in the safety of your container that you've created for this was really cool. And I'm very proud of you and this work that you're doing. And I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from this, myself included, with this conversation that, I learned some things about myself that I guess have just been going on below the surface here this whole time, and I hadn't really reflected on it in a while. So thank you.
Aw.
Did you aw?
Ah and the ah. Wow. Thank you.